Yageshwaram Ramakrishnan Saradam Matra Rupinim Vivekanandam Acharyam Natva Vakshame Suddhiye Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacha Malam Sharirasya Cha Bhaishajena Yopakarottam Pravaram Muninam Patanjalim Pranjaliranatosmi. In our last class, we started discussion on the second chapter, second pada, second quarter of this Yoga Sutras. This chapter is named Sadhana Pada, or chapter that leads with sadhana, spiritual practices, so to say. The first one was called Samadhi Pada, our chapter that deals with deep concentration. And the question is raised, why Samadhi Pada comes first and Sadhana Pada later? Because generally first sadhana happens and then Samadhi happens. The answer was that there are different types of aspirants. There are those who are superior aspirants, Uttamadhikaris. Then there are middling ones and inferior ones, Madhyama and Manda Adhikaris. Patanjali did not want to waste the people whose minds are very restless. They are not able to concentrate. Outgoing tendencies are there. For them, the sadhana pada is essential. But those who have a measure of control, a considerable measure of control over their mind, those who are superior aspirants, they don't have to study and understand what is the sadhana pada. And hence he writes Samadhi Pada first. He composes Samadhi Pada first. The superior aspirants, they will go through those practices and attain to Kaivalya. Their time is not wasted. They are already ready to practice those samadhis or to attain those samadhis. But for rest of the humanity, for most of the humanity, we are middling or inferior aspirants. Our minds are not that concentrated. We have so many outgoing tendencies. So for us, sadhana pada is necessary. And hence this comes later. We discussed we started discussion on first two sutras. Tapasvadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. That was the first sutra. Samadhi Bhavanartha Klesha Tanu Karanarthascha. That was the second sutra. So he defines the term Kriya Yoga, what it consists of. A new term is there, Kriya Yoga. Yoga means Samadhi, Kriya means actions. So certain actions which facilitate, which lead to yoga, they are clubbed or they are together named as Kriya Yoga. So Kriya Yoga is a set of actions that lead to yoga. That's why they are called Kriya Yoga. Yoga sadhanatvena yoga. It is called yoga because it is a means to yoga, and yoga means, as we have seen earlier, samadhi. So certain practices which facilitate, which lead to samadhi, those are called Kriya Yoga. Those practices were tapaha, svadhyaya and Ishvara Pranidhana. These were the three practices. And the context, the purpose, of course, the name Kriya Yoga itself tells us what is the purpose, but the next sutra clarifies it. Samadhi Bhavanartha. This Kriya Yoga, the purpose of this Kriya Yoga is Samadhi Bhavana, facilitate. What kleshas are, again the next sutra will tell. But kleshas in general are the drives that we have in our heart. Fear and all those drives, which so to say run our life as of now, or most of our life. So those drives, these need to be attenuated, to be weakened, so that we practice. Heat. Heat is generated when there is friction, and all that. So we have the subliminal impressions, samskaras, are for these kleshas, of these drives. And there is this world outside, and these drives are pushing us outside in pursuit of their objects. Unless we practice tapas, this cannot be broken. Unless this is broken, samadhi is not possible. So, nata and austerity, we say many definitions have been given of austerity. Sri Ramakrishna himself has given Gita talks of different, Shankaracharya has given, every teacher has given its own definition of austerity. In this context, in the context of yoga and in the context of these two sutras, we can define austerity as this checking of the outgoing tendencies, which make us take to physical and mental action in pursuit of certain objectives, and which we know to be counterproductive to yoga. These kleshas, as we just said, kleshas are within, seething, so to say. And there is this world outside, and these kleshas are pushing us outside in pursuit of their objectives. Checking of this, checking our physical and mental, both actions, checking them, denying ourselves those actions and those pursuits, which we know are counterproductive to yoga, which are yoga virodhi. That effort can be definition in the context of this Yoga Sutra will be this: denying ourselves or checking this yoga. That is tapasya. So tapasya is denial, so to say. Denying ourselves. What we know is counterproductive to yoga. And this denial happens by checking physical and mental actions. That is the general definition of yoga. Checking, restraining our own physical and mental action. Because our kleshas are very subjective. The kind of actions they prompt us to perform are different. They differ from person to person. Our likes and dislikes go about achieving our ends, but the general definition remains the same. We check physical and mental actions both that we know are harmful for our spiritual life. This denying ourselves is what is called tapas in a general sense. And this of course will create heat because there is obstruction. We ourselves are obstructing. That's how the name tapas finds meaning here, because we are denying something to ourselves. This is the first practice, and as Vyasa says, yoga is impossible without it. This means hardships. Denying ourselves means hardships, and we should be willing to undergo these hardships. Without that, yoga is not possible. So that is the first of the three. The second one is swadhyaya, which is swadhyaya means study. Vyasa says it is chanting of Om or other mantras or stotras and moksha shastra adhyanam. That is the term. That is studying the spiritual literature. This is a part of Kriya Yoga. Why should we study? The question comes, why should we study? Study is meant to strengthen our faith. When we come to yoga or to any serious spiritual practices, we have certain philosophical structure in which we have faith. We believe in certain entities, we believe in certain truths. And Swadhyaya should. And that's why we should read only authentic books. We should not read the all and sundry spiritual books. Whatever books that go in the name of spiritual books, we shouldn't read. We should read only authentic books, the Upanishads, the Gita, Brahma Sutra, or the works of very traditional authors like Shankaracharya, or incarnations like Ramakrishna, whatever. Their words are authentic. We should try to form our own philosophical convictions and subsequently strengthen them. That is the whole purpose of Swadhyaya, to form our own philosophical convictions and to strengthen in our philosophical frame or philosophical convictions. We should be able to assimilate it. That is the purpose of Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya should not confuse us. It should not destroy our faith. It should strengthen it. It should remove our doubts. That is another point. Swadhyaya, we get so many doubts, but when we read, our doubts are cleared. When our faith is strengthened, our effort gets new vigor, so to say. Then we are able to practice the strong. So these are all linked. Swadhyaya helps us get energy to practice tapasya. Also, we come to know many pitfalls. See, the spiritual journey of various aspirants, we come to know. We correct ourselves. So Swadhyaya is kind of a guide for spiritual life, a practical guide. It gives us direction. All this happens due to Swadhyaya. Now you see this term Ishvara Pranidhana, it did appear in yoga. And Ishvara Pranidhana was Tajjapastadartha Bhavanam, repeating the name of God and meditating on God with a prayerful attitude. Because we need Ishvara's grace to achieve Samadhi. That was the purpose of Ishvara Pranidhana in that context, a prayerful meditation on God. Here the context is different. The aspirant is a person whose mind is volatile, so to say, with so many outgoing tendencies. The concentration and meditation are a far-off cry. So here Ishvara Pranidhana cannot be a prayerful meditation on God. It is not that. So Vyasa Maharshi, who has commented on this sutra, he says Ishvara Pranidhana is offering of all renunciation of the results of actions. That is Ishvara Pranidhana. That is what we find in Gita, the second chapter, and also later also, many places Bhagavan Sri Krishna tells how to perform action. This is Gita's Karma Yoga, so to say. Ishvara Pranidhana is the Karma Yoga of Gita. This is also important because most of the time we are working, we are doing some work or the other. As we work, we are generating samskaras, we are gathering samskaras, which again will continue this cycle of births and rebirths. So instead of this work becoming a means to samsara, if we can convert it as a means to break free from samsara, then there is nothing like that. And karma yoga does only that. The karma, which generally is supposed to be a cause of bondage, it turns it into a cause of liberation, so to say, into a cause of klesha tanukarana. But how to perform work, that is the question. The work is same. When we perform is what Vyasa Maharshi has told. Is offering all our actions unto God. This becomes easier for bhaktas and Vedantins because according to Vedanta and Bhakti Shastra, God is the Niyanta, the controller of the schedule. This itself could be a sort of offering of work unto God. Or just as we offer fruits and flowers and garlands to God, we offer this ultimately because it is God's world. We did not create the world. The world has been there and it will continue to be there. So this is God's world and we are doing God's work. This itself is dedication of all actions unto God. This is where the Swadhyaya comes to our help. Swadhyaya tells us this truth that God has become this world. He is the There is no such thing as my work, your work, or anyone's work. It's God's work. We perform God's work. And the other thing is offering the results of our actions unto God. That's a bit tricky in the sense. Offering results of our actions to God. Some people say, how is it possible? Does it mean, see, the salary we get because of our work, you give it to God. Does it mean that? Or we get promotion because of our good work, of our action. It doesn't mean that. This offering the results of actions to God has to come in the beginning of the work. See, when we start work, generally that work is mixed with certain desires. Taking away those desires from the motive of work is what is called offering the results of all actions unto God. Some people work for power, some people work for pure money, some people work for praise, whatever. That becomes their motive for work. Taking off these motives away and to work with a pure heart, that this is for God that I am working, that is offering the results of all actions. Liking for food, all kinds of food, that is disturbing his or her mind and he or she knows it. So takes recourse to tapasya, says, I give up all these foods which are disturbing and stay to nutritional diet and all that. That's a tapasya. See, by that have these desires, I cannot stop working. I can stop eating bad food. because it is counterproductive to my yoga. But I can't stop working because it is counterproductive to my yoga. And that is where many people kind of take extreme position. And they say work is a cause of bondage. We don't want to work. But that's not the traditional method. Yes, as we work, we have these desires for name, fame, power, whatever you call it. But because these are there, we can't give up our work. And the antidote is this. You do it for the sake of God. You do it for the pleasure of God. You do it because it is God's work. That itself should be the motive for working. Ma karma phala heturbhu. Let not the selfish desires be the hetu, be the motive for your work. That is giving up the results of actions. So we work with a pure motive, not with a selfish motive, not with a self work, purifying that is offering the results of all actions unto God. And the results which actually come to us by way of money or whatever it comes, we accept it as a prasada of God. Is at purifying the motives with which we work. In that we eliminate, we purge the selfish motives and keep pure motives, higher aspirations for work. That is Karma Yoga. And this again will attenuate those kleshas which seek money and power and praise. Those will be attenuated because you are denying those. That's also a tapasya. So like that, all these are linked. Swadhyaya, tapas and Ishvara pranidhana. And with these three, we slowly, these kleshas become weak. In the next class we'll see. Om Shanti, Hari Om Tat Sat, Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.